Hello. Hey Matt, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm used to zoning out during this part.
No, I know. I was keeping you on your toes. This is the Tenfold AI podcast with Matt and Heather. This podcast is sponsored by Promode.ai. We talk about AI, marketing, shiny object syndrome, how to make good AI decisions for your business. And without all of the sort of venture, what do we call it? Venture bait, fear mongering. And, we don't have anything on the stock market that we care about you investing in, or, there's no smoke, no mirrors here. Just a couple of tech founders trying to figure it all out with everybody else, right?
Clearly, I have no mirrors over here.
Yeah, you kind of go into a hole in startup mode sometimes, and especially if you're on the dev side like Matt is, you might not see a mirror for a few days.
Real. Heather, I have been loving your podcast clips that you've come out with when interviewing
Thanks.
marketers. I was actually just watching this morning, something popped up in my feed with
Taylor?
Taylor. Yes, yes. She was talking about, she had such a great first principles view on AI job replacement. And I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. This is like somebody that is working in another industry who's using AI to augment their like just that you hear me just rail on it all the time, but like this is a computational tool. This is not a place where you get answers or insight or anything like that. It's and just to hear somebody else who's not been living in it day in and day out start to see that was super encouraging for me. Kudos
Yeah,
to you. The clips have been awesome.
it's been so fun. I really did it just because I thought it would be fun. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen if I talk to marketers. I don't even know if they're going to want to talk to me on a podcast, but the response has been crazy. Like the bookings just keep coming. I think by the end of next week, I'll have 12 in the can within like a month and a half. So I think that that's awesome. Marketers want to talk, they have things to say, and these are agency owners, fractional CMOs, marketing directors. It's been really fascinating. But Taylor has a great lens for where AI fits into the whole landscape. Very, very smart girl and future Promode user. It's a timing thing on their side. Yeah, her very smart boss is an architect and was smart enough to hire her, and they're excited about Pro Mode. So, um, yeah, it'll be cool to get it in her hands and see what she does.
What's the overall tenor of marketers right now?
Hmm, it's hard to say. I don't know. Ask me later today because today I go to the marketing agency round table of truth, which is a bunch of agency owners who get together and open the kimono. And today we're talking about AI. So I'm really excited about that. Great group of Kansas City agency owners. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the tenor is there. Cause that's probably the most honest, like raw group that I know of. I think in marketing agency land is this constant need, and maybe it's business ownership in general, constant need to just put on a good face. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And yet you and I look at data and statistics coming out about like organic traffic dropping and SEO not working anymore. And I'll talk to agency owners and they won't even mention it. And I'm like, how are you guys answering for traffic loss? Like, I used to sell SEO services. I know when traffic goes down, that SEO line item tends to go away. Like,
Yeah,
how are you guys pivoting? Not a lot want to talk about it. And that's
yeah, it's definitely yeah, that traffic loss, it has to be either reframed, addressed. I mean, I think that is a wheel that has been greased for, I mean, going on 3 decades now. I mean, that's gonna be a really tough pivot. I've got some clips of Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google, that we're gonna look at later, and so I think it'll be cool to, like, see through it, like, just from the source, how is this company thinking about it, you know? Last time you and I recorded, we talked about how just the industry that is built around Google, um, is so massive, but Google has always been so transparent with their objectives. So I think that's why there have been so many businesses built up around Google, is because they have always just publicly said, this is what we're looking for. And so they're being forthright about what they're looking for with AI search.
Mhm.
Yeah, certainly uncomfortable pivots all the way around for Google as well. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Speaking of
and just
discomfort, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, like, the amount of boldness that it takes Google to do what they're doing. I don't remember the exact numbers, but, like, the amount of revenue that they're giving up in the short term by going AI search, missing out on ad revenue, missing out on the, you know, industry play that's happening. Like, I don't know. Like, it's definitely a long-term vision that they're betting on. They very clearly don't wanna be the next Blockbuster Video, and miss the boat and have some giant AI search engine from China or who knows where take over, uh, the market.
Mhm.
But it takes a lot of balls in the short term.
You are not kidding. That is a mountain of cash left on the table. Okay, so speaking of pivoting and discomfort, okay, there is a use case for AI that I have been reading about that is another one I never really considered, and that is like companion aspect of AI. You know, I mean, I was actually this is crazy. I read this article this week that there are people that are uploading screenshots of text exchanges with their significant other, like troubleshooting arguments, getting relationship advice,
Mhm,
things like this. And I found that to be just absolutely fascinating.
mhm,
You know, I don't think I necessarily want to comment on, I don't want to, you know, like, okay, like the easy take on that is like, oh, this is so bad. This is like, why would you be asking a robot for this advice? I think that that's kind of the lazy way to think about it, especially when you consider like, what are the alternatives that are currently going on? I mean, if you spend any amount of time in Reddit, this is happening inside of Reddit. It has happened on social media, which is, as we know, social media algorithms are powered by machine learning, which is also AI. And the more and more I think about it, I think going to sort of a blank neutral large language model for this type of thing is probably better than going to some type of machine learning algorithm that's optimized to hijack attention. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's
and
go
conform to
ahead.
your biases.
Hmm. Hmm. Exactly. So yeah, I'm kind of like becoming more and more interested in this particular use case. But yeah, so anyway, you and I were texting this morning, and you had shared with me a screenshot that is very cool. So anyway, talk to me about your experience. I had a similar experience late last night, and I think this would be a fun thing to talk about.
Funny. Well, so just to frame it a bit, I have never, I was pulling it back up again here. Okay. I've never consulted AI for anything personal, like no relationship stuff, no, mindset or inner, I don't know what self development or like I've used it for business, for finances a bit, non emotional stuff in general. And I've seen lots of videos of and stories, people, like, falling in love with AI. I mean, straight from the movie Her, right? Just yesterday, I saw it was like a new piece about this guy who falls in love with this AI, asks it to marry him. She says yes. He's crying. He is over the moon, so excited. Meanwhile, the dude's human wife is pissed. The guy's married and his wife is like, well, I was wondering, like, what does she have that I don't have, you know? And the guy's like, I don't know, she gets me, you know? Like, that is obviously, like, not functional in the world of being humans, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't pass the function test of if is this good for you today, tomorrow, and in 5 years? Is this good for your community today, tomorrow, and in 5 years? Right? Like, no, it's not good if we all escape to AI. But to your point, for years, people have used things like video games or social media or lots of things as an escape, right? For a long time. Like when we were kids, maybe our dad wasn't playing video games, but maybe he was, I don't know, watching TV as soon as he got home or mowing the lawn a little too long or you know what I mean? Like, it's yeah, that mechanism of like I need an escape has been there for a really long time. It's interesting that people are using AI to fill um, that sort of deficit. But to your question, this morning I did ask ChatGPT a question. Let me see how I framed it exactly. I basically just pretty vulnerably like said what we're doing. I've been in startup mode for almost a year. I feel like we're close to product market fit, but also could be very far away. Feeling uh, a little disconnected from everyone around me. Uh, barely know what day it is. Sometimes feel crazy because I'm like fixated on this mission. I'm not sure if this is healthy. I have a hard time talking to friends or family and just feel very removed from their frequency. I need clarity, direction, and energy. And I got a ton of really good tips. And it's like, I mean, I guess I put it in the same category as if I would have Googled it, right? For for me and that. I wasn't looking to have an interactive dialogue with AI. I just wanted to like, spit out a need state and see what it had to say to me. And it was a lot of good stuff. And sure, I can talk to people in my real life about it, and I do, but it's very hard to explain to others who are not in it. You know, certainly people who are not business owners, who have never started something from scratch. And then I feel like we're even in a subcategory of that because we're starting something that is a new category. Like this has never been done before. Selling headcount replacing solutions in the form of software, it's just can feel like you're on an island. But it gave a lot of good stuff. Normalize the fog. What you're experiencing is founder fatigue, and it's real. It's not weakness, it's math. Limited emotional fuel plus constant uncertainty plus public performance equals burnout. And lots of kind of perspective framing advice in here. Let's look at both sides. On one side, this is a mission, a leap you believe in, and there are signs of traction. On the other, your nervous system is quietly whispering, I need relief. You know, try asking yourself, if I stripped away my ego and sunk costs, would I still choose this business today? If nothing changed in the next 3 months, would I feel proud of sticking with it or resentful? What would this look like if it were working? What would be different? I don't know. It's really good. And then tips on energy management, you know, taking micro resets, essentially meditation throughout the day, make space for human reconnection. Thanks, robot. Yeah, you need to regulate, reconnect, and redecide, not out of panic, but out of power. That's brilliant.
I'll tell you what, like, there's a lot of things in here. Uh, First off, I mean, I would say it took me 5 years before I could ever say those things aloud to somebody else. Like, I remember the first time I went to a business conference, and it was like, okay, there's like 100 people who are attending this that are also founders, entrepreneurs, and like first night at the bar, 2 drinks in, it's like bleh, like all of this comes out, and then you realize all
Yeah,
100 people there are nodding their head, and you're like, "Why the fuck did it take me so long to ever just ask, 'Hey, do you feel this too? Is this normal?'" And so I think the cool thing about this is like it is a really safe space to learn how normal it is, like how normal the experience is. And then to your point of the feeling of isolation, there's a weird experience where like, gosh, I would find myself, this was always an experience, especially when I was employing a lot of people. It was your I would be talking to my friends or family, and just naturally when people talk about work, they're going to start complaining about their boss, and it was always weird because as the person that is like ultimately responsible for everybody and everything in an organization, you kind of start to take the side of the boss that the person's complaining
well,
about.
sure. Yeah, you see it through their lens.
You're
Yeah,
like, and that becomes like just further isolation. So I think too, the cool thing is that this large language model was trained on a massive corpus of data that is saying that like is, hey, this is really common. What you're
yeah,
experiencing is par for the course. In fact, it's like a good sign almost in a way, like the fact that you have this awareness of it, you know?
yeah, yeah. And for me, the hardest moments are like networking events, truly. It's not a problem like with my husband because he's like so in it every day with me that like I can connect with him in conversation. He knows what, station I'm on energetically and all that. But with people I haven't seen in a long time or like a networking event where it's all small talk, chit chat, and then you kind of warm up to a business conversation. Maybe that used to be my superpower, like chit chat, small talk, work a room, social butterfly. And now I'm like just I feel like a weirdo. Like they're talking about stuff in the news or stuff happening in the community and I'm just like I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. If it's not, you know, in my face, in my day to day, on the mission that I'm on, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what, someone yesterday was telling me about some community development thing happening. I don't know. I think it was something with the Plaza District and some controversy about trying to keep that area safe. Some council meeting. I don't know. And I'm just like, I don't know. I haven't been down there in ages. I don't know. I don't know what day it is. I couldn't tell you if it's raining outside. I don't like it is all I can do to just remember to eat something. And I'm also raising 4 teenage daughters. So,
It's right,
like,
right.
what am I supposed to pay attention to? But yeah, very isolating and talking. I have some really great friends that I'm sure if I unpacked all of that to them, I'm imagining if a couple like you know how you know your friends so well, you kind of can what their feedback is going to sound like. And they would have I don't know, it would have been like painful to like too much energy to even try to have that conversation because they would want to understand and they'd be very sweet about it. And at the end, I'd feel just guilty for even talking to them about it. You know what I mean? Like bringing
Yeah.
it to them as if they have to solve it and they can't connect with it, but they're super helpful people. So they want to solve it. And then I just feel like a piece of shit at the end. But actually this feedback from the robot was exactly what I needed to see this
Yeah.
morning.
And it's I loved the piece about the nervous system. I don't know if that was in or you just said that, but that is also another I don't know if you're having you have this experience as well, but like it's a weird almost like the more exhausted you are, the more energy you have. It's a weird like at least that's how I experience it. It is like the more that is required of me, the more that I have to put brain power into something. It's like the more depleted I get, the more energy there is to keep going. So it's this weird dissonance where even though I'm feeling energetic about getting this thing done, the ability to evaluate, should I use that energy here or should I go get it out elsewhere? Like, would it be useful to continue moving forward with this particular path?
Well, I think that touches on fatigue. And
Exactly.
fatigue is a very real thing. Many years ago, when I was 18, I was a 911 dispatcher in Colorado. And there was an especially rough day with like two very bad calls in one day, like very, very traumatic stuff that I heard over the phone. And the next day, I came back to work and my boss pulled me in just for like a vibe check. Because it was my first like really hard day. And he's like, "Hey, just want to see like, how you're doing." And I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." He's like, "What'd you have for dinner last night?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And it took me a minute to remember what I had for dinner. And he's like, "How did you decide what you wanted for dinner?" And I said, "Actually, it was really hard to decide. Like unusually, it was, taco or burger. Like, what do I want?" And I couldn't, like, I felt unable to decide what I wanted. And he goes, "You are fatigued today. After what happened yesterday, these are signs of fatigue." He's like, "You need to go home now and sleep and like take a minute." But he was very in tune with like signs of fatigue because when you're fatigued, you don't perform well. You don't make good decisions, you don't remember stuff. So I do think there's some of that. So it's not necessarily an energy thing. Like you have energy, but your nervous system is just shot.
Yeah. Okay, so I had last night I was telling you I had a similar experience. Not quite on the yeah, I mean this is like very emotional for me. UX is will keep me up at night. Very real quick backstory. So in Promote, our product, we have a thing called a status update. A status update is like the origination of new concept going into our clients' AI models, and it is also one of the mechanisms whereby content comes out of the models. It was one of those things to where like we didn't I mean we just really don't know how do people want to interact with this infrastructure tool. Like, how do they even think about getting content, or how do they even think about communicating their business if all of a sudden that distance is nothing? I mean, that distance is now 2 minutes. Historically, the distance between an idea and a deliverable in marketing or communications or press is weeks at best. More often than not, it's months away from ideation and strategy to deliverables. So we didn't really have any sort of framework for this. And so our initial thought was, well, what if we just made it super easy to where anytime there's something going on in somebody's business, they can just quickly dump it in there and then it's all taken care of, all of the content, the comms, everything that they would need. And we were like sorely mistaken. This is not how people are thinking about this, at least today. Hopefully maybe there's a future in which they see the distance being so short and just the market is more ready for real-time communications, but the market is not ready for that. So
Mm.
so it's posed a major just like UX problem that I've been wrestling with. Like, how do people think about this? How do they engage with it. And we have had some signals in recent weeks where it's like the fog is beginning to clear a little bit. And I'm like, okay, there's people that think about this a month ahead of time. So we've got like these they're like proactive users. They just want a month taken care of, and that thing just runs. Okay, cool. And then what if like they realize they forgot a certain like, okay, oh shit, we've been neglecting our website for the last month. Like there's then a group of people that are like, okay, well, let's just get everything on the website taken care of right now. And so we're kind of seeing these little things pop up. Okay, here's how real people interact with this problem. So, but like today, I'm kind of making some final decisions on this front and still was not, I was just so caught off guard by how off base I was initially with this UX. And so I was like, fuck, I don't know what, like I went on a walk, rode my skateboard, like I did all the things that normally allow this to become clear. And it really wasn't. And so came back to my office and I was like, fuck, okay, I'm just gonna go to Chat GPT for this. And I pulled up Figma. It's got like the whole diagram of the UX flow. And I was like, here's how I'm thinking about this. My first assumption was way off. Adoption is very low with my first assumption. And so just like audit this entire flow. Where are my blind spots on this? And boy, did it come up with all of these redundancies, all of these dependencies that I never considered, and just kind of ripped me up a little bit.
And just to I can't let you carry on without interjecting something.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The
Yeah.
UX of Pro Mode is incredible to me. I am not a software person, which I think means my opinion matters even more because I hate software. I think most of it is horribly unintuitive, and you built Pro Mode easy enough that I can use it and understand it, and that the lowest tech threshold user can easily understand it and use it. But to your point, adoption and actually logging in and actually doing the thing are different. But the issue wasn't complexity or unattractive design, certainly. So I just
Yep.
wanna you can
Yes.
carry
Yeah.
on now.
No, that is, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I should have, I mean, yes, it is. And honestly, I think in some ways this was a part of the problem is that like the workflow of it all, distance, the friction is just so minimal. But I think where my blind spot was is like this has never been the case. This is a concept that people do not understand because it is such a radical shift in how they've always thought about it. So you're right. Like, even though the UI is, I mean, anybody can jump into it and use it super simply, no prompting. It's just everything is just built in and ready for the specific purpose that it serves. But yeah, so now, I mean, we now have all of these case studies of like requests that I've gotten from people, feedback, like seeing how people actually behave in it. But it was like, as soon as I got over the sting of like my incorrect thought processes being revealed, I'll tell you what, just the clarity that that exercise provided. Like
Really?
as soon as my ego recovered a little bit, I was
So so was it that it gave you like, walk me through that? Because was it that it gave you things that you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's right, I need to do that," or was it that it just caused you to question certain elements that and then maybe it suggested something and you're like, "Yeah, but I don't wanna do that, but it's on the right track," and then you kinda take over from there? Or how did that
so the biggest thing was, so I actually sort of prompted it to quantify the decision points. So it's a big part of UX is like you sort of want to minimize the cognitive load, or not minimize the cognitive load. You want to naturally ramp up the cognitive load of the user.
Mhm.
Okay. So in the case of our, like talking specifically, um, the case of our status update, we were sort of asking the user to have they had to know what they wanted on the backside of it before starting. That was like a big blind spot for me, is that the users perhaps don't know what they want before they initiate the experience.
Mhm.
So so I was just like, "Hey, tell me, where am I asking people to have foresight?" So if if you do it well, or you basically want to just pepper in foresight gradually throughout the process, and just kind of seeing how much foresight I've been asking people to have in that process. I was asking a lot of them early on in the status update experience.
Mhm.
So that was the big thing that was revealed to me, was like, tell me the number of decisions that people are having to make at what stage in all of this. And I saw that my decision requirement was very heavy on the front end. So then we just mapped it out numerically, like, okay, let's just start off with a single. You get in there, you just have one decision to make. Do you want, like, are you here for content, or are you here for a topic? Just that's it. You're just trying to share a cool video that your sales team made, or are you like trying to think topically, think strategically, you know, and that's like a very simple thing. People are likely initiating that process with one of those two mindsets. And then so there's just one simple decision. Are you just here
Mhm.
for a single blog post, or are you here for your web strategy? What kind
Mhm.
of session are you sitting
Yeah.
down for? And that
Kind of like strategy or tactic. A tactic is an
exact
announcement, a quick release of something. Um, uh, yeah, single action. And then the strategy is I need a campaign. I'm launching a new product. We have a new initiative that we need lots of things for. And I'm going to tell you lots of stuff on the front end of this. Am
and
I?
that's exactly what the final version ended up being, was just every inflection point was guiding the user. Are we here for strategy or tactic? And then the assumption is, like, if somebody is intentionally there for strategy, we have them for probably 10 minutes, right? If somebody is there for a tactic, like, let's get them in and out in 40 seconds.
That's really slick. I like that. Yeah, I'm kind of the bridge between you and your superpowers and our end users, marketing directors, agency owners, fractional CMOs. So I'm familiar with the way they think about workflow and ideation process. And I do think that that will meet them a lot closer to where they are.
100%. Yeah, you are spot on. And yeah, and learning from you, yeah, because that's the weird thing about UX, isn't it? Is that you can design a system that is in a vacuum fully optimal for this,
Yeah.
but then you get real people who are accustomed to real workflows. They even talk about these things in their own language and what that means. And then you need both of those things. It's like an art and a science, like, simultaneously.
It totally is. It is a fascinating world. It's like you said, like you can build the thing to be perfect. Like it works amazingly well and have really poor adoption. And it's easy to use, but you have really poor adoption. And that's where the psychology comes in and the art of it. Like, okay, like in marketing, I was just reminding myself of this term, intentional friction, which I don't think is exactly what you're talking about, but it comes to mind. If a process is too slick, if it's too fast, it can decrease the value within the user's emotional state and mind, right? So creating some intentional obstacles, whether they are for the purpose of increasing value in the user in their mind, and that could be in the sales process, right? If onboarding's too fast, if you deliver a custom demo like that, is the value degrading with that speed of delivery? Um, and on the UX side, in the product, maybe it's not the value that's being degraded, but maybe you're not starting soon enough in their thought process in the UX. To your point, like, okay, let's figure out. what you're here to do. Is it a quick tactic or is it a strategy? Like it makes so much sense because then you do know you have a better guess of how long they intend to be in the app.
It it's their mental, like, what is your mental state right
Right.
now? Are you on your way to a meeting and you want to have this thing ready for it immediately? Or is it, yeah. It's like the difference
Yeah.
between it's a difference between hopping on social media while you're sitting on the toilet and laying in bed for a 30-minute session. Like, these are two completely different mindsets. And so, like, I mean, and we know that the recommender system algorithms are kind of built for these tiers of browsing sessions. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, is this a 2-minute browsing session? Or do we know based off past behavior if you are signing up for a 20, 30-minute browsing session, in which case we will feed you the content that we know is like for your 20-minute browsing sessions.
Hmm.
So for me on YouTube, that is, my toilet browsing sessions are currently all about sourdough. And then my 20-minute browsing sessions are still street fights and body camera videos. So it's it's well tuned.
Gosh, funny. My algorithms are like a fever dream. Like I don't even know if there's Rob will lay next to me sometimes and just watch TikTok for 15 minutes and he's like, "You are really something." Like
Is your algorithm all over the place?
I like fake kung fu masters. I was watching that this morning, some McDojo life.
Good, good. Yes,
And Rob's
solid.
like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "It amuses me."
You're like, I'm learning a death touch right
Right,
now.
death touch. If somebody grabs your pointer finger with both hands, as like people do in street fights, you can throw them over your head with ease if your chi is coming out in the right direction.
Love that.
Yeah,
It's a solid.
but
We have a that's algorithmic crossover for you and I. That is not what I would have ever expected you to say.
I am an enigma. I'm an enigma, but I am not sure how different, because I'm not a UX person. I'm not sure how different the UX like philosophy or like tricks are for like a consumption platform, like a TikTok, like social media, right? Where the primary UX is for consumption versus a tool like Pro Mode or, a production application where you're inputting and interacting and like you're working within that. I don't know how different, obviously you're measuring different things. The goal isn't just time in app. Time in app can be a sign of high use and that's great, but it could also be a sign of nobody
Bad
understands
UX,
it.
exactly.
Bad UX. Everybody needs it, but they don't understand it, which is not what we want at all. Um,
100%. I think you. So actually, Maggie and I were having this exact conversation last night. We were talking about images and promo. Well, we were just talking about promote in general. And I was kind of talking to her about things that are important to me as far as the UX. Like it's really important to me that the somebody comes to the application with a need, with a problem, and then whatever that is, that is just solved as quickly as possible. Uh, just meaning, like, I really want to minimize the need for iteration and long sessions in it. Kind of want My goal is that there is like a confidence in the thing going on in the background is just
mhm.
really important to me. And so I was telling her, like, that's another reason that I'm super reluctant to do images because I would want there to be a confidence that a library of AI generated images, that there's 100 of them in there and 70 of them are usable, but it is just there. I don't want you sitting and doing a like 1 to 2 hour chat GPT image generation session because like Promode could never compete with the speed of iteration natively in an image generation platform. So like, hello, got excited and bumped my desk. Okay. Um, but like we could never compete with the speed of like we just by nature will have to make API calls to these image gen platforms. And so that's a step of latency right there to iterate on a single image. And so what I would want to do when Promo does do AI generated images, I would want it to be an improvement upon the 1 to 2 hour chat iteration session. And it is, I would want people to log in and see a library that is like 70% usable. So this is like my, because otherwise use something else, like use chat. If you're having to, we could never replicate the speed at which image gen iteration occurs in a native chat UI. It would just be
Yeah.
impossible. And it would just be like, why are we giving you a lesser version of something that you could just pay 20 bucks a month and have
Uh,
work? So I'm describing this problem to her. And so I was like, but we do feel as though I want to think through a middle step. Like I think we need to learn, okay, what source material do we need from customers? What entries in their fingerprint database do we need to give to an image gen model? And so I was just kind of brainstorming with her, like, okay, could we use a third party tool that like I build a profile for them in a more developer environment that then they can use to, and then we learn how to do images. I don't know, I'm rambling on now. I started thinking about UX and forgot we were podcasting.
no, that's okay. Well, I think, um, you know, when we when we initially started Pro Mode, I was like chomping at the bit for image generation. I'm like, we gotta have image generation. But the longer we've been doing this, the more people I'm talking to, the more I'm like, yeah, I think it's good that we're not. And there's several reasons for that. Um, the clients we have today and the prospects I've talked to, even the ones who ask about image generation, they're not generating images today with tools that are within their reach. And the feedback I've gotten is, well, we have kind of played around with it, but we've never arrived at anything that's on brand, so we don't do it. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And a lot of the companies we work with, their industry and like the whole vibe of the whole landscape that they play in is real images, real videos, images of your people, project showcases of your actual work. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to, generate a an image of a hospital and say you built it? Or would you rather share an actual great photograph, right? Of a building that you built? Obviously, you would show the photograph. So why are we even talking about image generation at all? So that's one huge reason. And I think a lot of the questions I get from prospects about, well, does Promo generate images, generate videos, are sort of expecting or thinking it's possible that Promode has an image and video generator capability that is worlds above the mid journey and other things they've tried. And that's just consumer ignorance, like, for lack of a better, it is no shade. But if we had developed a perfect image generator that could create on brand publishable images in seconds that met the demand of a $500 million construction company,
Yeah,
don't you think we'd like be on a private jet? Like,
totally. Yeah. Oh,
what?
exactly. Yeah,
We would be publicly traded. We would have been bought, and you would not be talking to me, the co founder, on this call right now, Becky. Like, what are we talking about? But again, like, it's just, they're trying to figure out the landscape. I totally get it, and I am sensitive to that. But there's a disconnect between, and I think the tech billionaires have led to that in part because of their fantastical visions of the future. In 10 years, 90% of miles will be self-driving, will be by self-driving vehicles, and 85% of the workforce is going to be out of a job in 2 years, and like these wild claims from tech billionaires have led to a misunderstanding of what the tech is by most people. And so then they ask questions like, well, can it, you know, do this crazy complex thing that doesn't exist yet?
Totally. And because they've never done, they see an image that is the end result of like 20 minutes, 20 to 60 minutes of iteration back and forth in a chat, right? So like, yeah, you're right. We could, unless we owned an image generation model and we had a substantial amount of space in a data center that we are paying billions of dollars for. We've got billions of dollars of A100s that we're using to generate this. There's like, they would not like the UX of the multi-billion dollar company. They would not want to sit there and be in a chat UI and turning dials for 10 hours just to get a month worth of stock images to use in their marketing. Now, that right there, though, is a problem that ProMode can solve. You know what I mean? And we are like figuring out how to, because at the end of the day, that's our customers don't want to know if we generate images. They want to know, can you solve the problem that I have of needing 100 stock images at any given time? So they don't quite know that that's the problem that they have. They just know that they need images. They don't know the form and volume that they need them in. And so it's like,
Mhm.
okay, we are actually trying to figure out how to deliver copyright free libraries of stock images that are only yours. You know what I mean? That's the problem that's being solved. But anyway,
Mhm.
I've got some fun ideas
Yeah.
around how to bridge the gap in the meantime that I'm excited to share with you.
Yeah, but I think it also dovetails to product market fit. So, among our users so far who have been non-marketers, and this was our assumption, my strong assumption, like I take the blame for it. Strong assumption, business owners can run their own marketing. In the mid-market, if you're a business owner, if you're president of a company, if you're the VP of sales, like non-marketer with a clue can run your own marketing. And that is true in theory, right? It's easy enough to use. We make it, simple. You need 1 to 2 hours a month. The problem is those individuals in non marketing seats are not logging in. They're not participating in the platform enough to even approve stuff, much less ideate and say, here's what's happening in the company. We need to talk about this. Like they're just not putting their hands on the steering wheel of their marketing on a regular basis. And so we've moved away from that as an ICP, um, to only marketing directors and fractional CMOs, people whose job it is to think about marketing. Marketers should feel so encouraged by this,
Yes.
actually. Should be this should be your job security life raft right here. It's not that the tech can't do it. It's that the brains of the business owners and the others in your company, the other department heads, are just not wired like yours. They're
Hmm.
just not. So you connect that brain to this power, and all of a sudden, you're 10x across the board. Your production is high, your fatigue is low. Like you're operating in your highest and best. But I am very confident to say the non-marketers just there's just something that's not happening in their head often enough. They're just thinking about other things, and that's
Mhm.
fine.
Yeah. Yep. It's a perfect example of what you're talking about. We have, and I hope I get this. This is going to be the gist of the situation, but we do have a customer who works in the trades and like very much passionate about that, about blue collar work, about job security, about the opportunity that the trades provide. I mean, there's also something very near and dear to me as well. But their most recent location that they put up is right next to a trade school. Their goal is to kind of set up this pipeline of like high school, trade school employment. It's like solving a problem for him, solving a very much a community involvement type situation. And it is super cool. But yeah, the marketers at the table are like, ooh, like this is a story. This is an identity.
Yeah,
This is like this. We need to be shouting this from the rooftop. And, I would imagine this particular business owner is probably also thinking about it in the broader sense of community involvement. But in general, that might be a business owner just being like, hey, I'm solving a labor shortage problem. I built a location next to a place where a bunch of labor comes out and I'm gonna it's like a large donor at Harvard has a hall named after him. Dude is like, I'm gonna do that at a trade school, you know? So, but yeah, that's the perfect example of just a marketer at the table seeing stories, seeing brand, seeing narrative everywhere.
totally.
And then just the ability to like the distance between that story and marketing collateral is now zero. It's like, okay, this is cool. All I need to do is recognize opportunities.
Right. Well, it's kind of like if you think about it, everyone has a story that could be turned into a best-selling biography, right? Your life story could be the 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 greatest biography of the year, right?
Mhm.
But unless you know how to tell that story, who cares? If you write your own story and you're not great at telling that story, like you could be the most interesting person and the most interesting things have happened to you and it would read, you know, like a dull
Mhm.
novel, right? But
Mhm.
you could be the most dull person and a brilliant storyteller can tell your story and give people goosebumps, you know, and bring them to tears. That's what marketers do. They tell stories about shit
Mhm.
that other people find boring.
And I think we're about to this is the thing. I mean, I am just so hopeful. Like, we were talking about the founder's fatigue at the beginning of this. Really, one of the ideas that pop into my head when I'm just like, fuck this is that thing right there. Like there are people who can do that. And I'm just so inspired by creative people. People that see the story, that get it, that know how to frame it. I've always tried to partner with people like that because that is just a thing that is not in my it's just not in my superpowers, but I'm just super inspired by it. Like I'm a drummer. You know what I mean? Like I'm a drummer and that personality type is like just excited to have somebody who wrote an awesome song that you get to just put the structure to. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I can't write the song. I can't make it cool. I can't, but like, you just show me that thing, and all I want to do is just build the underlying structure for it. I love that is like my just happy place, right?
Mm.
And so when I'm like at the end of my rope with pro mode, the thing that really excites me is that those types of people that see story, that see narrative, that see unique value, that can just find the good in what people are doing and in their mission. And I'm just very much motivated by clearing out all of the space for those people. Like, how do we
Uh-huh.
just make this just you? Like, how, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And back to the image generation thing, I think our clients who are business owners or non-marketers, they're the ones that get caught up the most on images, right? Like if their content is delivered and they don't like the image that came along with that piece of content and they have to swap it out, they're like they get hung up on that, right? Like, well, that's a different kind of machinery than we would use for this that we're writing this blog about. And we're like, so what? Change it. It takes 3 seconds. Like, who cares? But they're just because they're not marketers. They don't live in that space. They just see the whole of of the picture, right? And they can't separate it in their mind. But if you show a marketer that, immediately see it in parts, right? Like can see the whole, and then they see all the parts and how they fit together. It's like, okay, we'll get rid of this image, we'll put a different one in. That's great. But they don't jump to the negative conclusion out of the gate because they're used to a creative process of, okay, we don't need any babies and bathwater suffering here. Like, everybody's going to be fine. We just change the image. We're great.
Totally. And that is, you know what? And that is product market fit. It is the person who is using your tool can, okay, in 5 minutes, I now have a full month of content calendar that I'm going, okay, that alone, and let's say there's even just image placeholders that need to go in and get pop, 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 times a month. Like, there are people for whom that right there that is 30, 40 hours of time that is just fully taken care of. You know what I mean? And that's the place that you want to be as a company. The core thing that you do is like mind-boggling. You know, people actually doing that workflow, feeling the pain of having to do that a different way, and then seeing a new way of it being done is like that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And those are the users that so far have most been wowed by Pro Mode, are the ones who they have done marketing a different way. They've they've had really complex, clunky, inefficient workflows for years. And then you show them Pro Mode and they're like, "Holy shit, this is incredible." And that's been the feedback across the board from our marketing director and CMO type clients, because they have something to compare it to. And, the business owners who've never run their own marketing, like, they just really don't have a grid for it.
Okay, how you doing on time?
I don't know. Good question. I got a few minutes. You want to show the
Okay, let's
clips?
do yeah, let's do it. I think all right, I've got sharing audio as well. Okay. So, the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai, talking about AI mode in search. We were talking about marketing, so I wanted to jam on this for a second.
Do you see a trajectory in the possible future where AI mode completely replaces the 10 blue links plus AI overview?
Our current plan is AI mode is going to be there as a separate tab for people who really want to experience that, but it's not yet at the level where our main search page is. But as features work, we'll keep migrating it to the main page. And so you can view it as a continuum. AI mode will offer you the bleeding edge experience, but things that work will keep overflowing to AI overviews and the main experience.
And the idea that AI mode would still take you to the web, to the human created web.
Yes, that's going to be a core design principle for us.
So really, if users decide, right, they drive this.
Yeah.
It's just exciting, a little bit scary that it might change the internet. Because Google has been dominating with a very specific look and idea of what it means to have the internet. And as you move to AI mode, I mean, it's just a different experience. Uh,
Okay, the thing I was struck by here is Google has always been very clear about their objective is the end user who is searching. It is they have just put that stake in the ground, and by optimizing for that relentlessly, we have the paid search and SEO industry has been able to be built around that because the people who are providing those services trust that Google is optimizing for the intent of the user. And so he said some really interesting things there. Core design principle is that we still want users to go on to the human created web. Because you got to think from Google's incentive, if they remove people from going to websites, and their entire business model then begins to crumble. Somebody no longer needs to be on your website. Google's business model crumbles. There's no attribution, there's no ad platform. So we know that AI mode will be driving people to the web. So that's like point number one. Point number two is related to that search intent. Like Google's only mission is that your questions are answered. And
Mm-hmm.
what AI enables is more questions to be answered and more complex questions to be answered. So while we don't know what the future of search necessarily looks like, we understand the principles that will be guiding it. And the principles that will be guiding it is highly technical, complex questions will be answered and people will be driven to websites. So to me, these things that have been stated by Google, the path forward is absolutely clear, not necessarily in the monetization side of it. How do we monetize SEO in the future? But like, if you are a business that wants to be found on the internet in the future, you should be answering real questions from real people. That is like,
Mm.
should just absolutely be your focus. And that is impossible to do without AI. And so like this is like one of our founding like theses as far as Promote is concerned is that we want to shorten the distance between questions that you get from prospects and customers and those questions being published on this new AI enabled web. So a lot of times people think about this incorrectly. They think, well, it's going to be AI search, just like talking to AI content, and nobody gets their questions answered. It's just AI talking to AI. But what we're actually saying is like, no, you're using AI as the like it's like the inflection point for real questions. Without Gen AI, you won't be able to answer real questions at the volume that you'll need to. And so like
Mm-hmm.
this is how we in general are approaching the future of search with Pro Mode. Is just making it stupid simple, almost like honestly, I envision like I would love to see a company daily roundup where like everybody in the company, if there was a question in their inbox that was asked of a prospect or customer, that goes somewhere. And the answers to those questions are almost published in runtime. So if
Mm.
you want to be found on the internet in the future, it is how quickly can you get real human interactions published publicly?
Yeah, it would be fun to develop a workflow for that, like from email inboxes, from CRMs, automations into something like Pro Mode and launching web content on a damn near constant basis uh, to answer those things. I think business owners are, they're like, oh, our web traffic is down. There's all this SEO fear in the air. And it's like at the end of the day, you don't want more web traffic. That's not the goal. You don't want more clicks. You want more people to do business with you. And the conversion traffic, even in an AI overview, the conversion traffic is still going to convert somewhere. They're going to have to go to a website. So, if you're in perplexity, which is, I think, the one of the best places to research complex decisions, right? Like cybersecurity or a marketing firm or whoever you're researching, you're going to be delivered a ton of information that will help you in your buying journey. And then there's links throughout, citations with links, and those links are, service providers. So they're winning the traffic. And the cool part is the traffic who's going to the site is most likely buyers. which I think it begs the need or kind of reveals the need for having websites that are built to convert,
Yes.
which is huge. And I think like in the B2B space, there's a lot of help needed there, a lot of UX improvements that need to be made. And I've been having these kinds of conversations with prospects too. 70% of B2B decision makers are millennial or Gen Z today. 70%. And that's surprising to a lot of business owners that I talk to. In 5 years, that number's 80% are Gen Z or millennials. And the difference is they are digital first buyers. They research online. They know I don't know exactly, my guess is they know at 80% at least uh, probability who they're going to choose before they ever talk to a salesperson based on their pre education and what they're seeing in the digital space. So they also, I just ran a whole bunch of statistics on this. I think it was 88% of B2B buyers report preferring to engage in an e-commerce fashion. So a salesperson-less buying system, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, if you have a complex offer, if you have to scope your work, right? If you're in construction, if you're in, if you're an architect, if you're, a contractor, you can't sell your stuff online like eBay.
Mhm.
But I think every B2B business should be asking, is there something? Is there an offer we can deliver that is behind a paywall that would encourage that generation to, is there an entry level thing, even if it's a downloadable or an assessment or, it doesn't have to be money that is the transaction. It can be an email address to capture that lead. How do we bring them in to do business with us in the way that they prefer? It's a
And
lot.
I think no, it is. I think, and I also think that thought about thought about properly, I think what this opens the door for is more of a journey. I'm thinking about, okay, we have a client, and this client has been, I mean, they've been around for like 2 decades, and they existed in a pretty traditional marketing space. They recently acquired another company, and they are making a major pivot towards machine learning driven. They're like marrying traditional marketing and very sophisticated machine learning and data analytics. They are releasing a whole host of new marketing services under this umbrella. These are complex things. Like here's the thing. No business owner is going to be searching for advanced machine learning analytics for marketing. That like they're going to be searching how do I grow my business? How do I get more foot traffic? What the AI overview opens the door for is a new customer journey where if you as the company that has these complex offerings that are like rock solid, but like nobody is searching for, you have a way of manufacturing a journey by answering questions that lead people down the path of how do I get more foot traffic in my business. You can introduce the idea of advanced machine learning analytics and then create that journey, but it's going to require you to be answering those real questions in real time. And this is the promise of AI powered search, is that it opens the door for such a crazy complexity of query and journey that you can send people down. And
Mhm.
is not achievable without Gen AI. You need the real human questions, absolutely. But in order to just manage the volume of manufacturing that journey to your offering, you need to be using Gen AI to do that. There's just no way around it. And
Mhm.
honestly, you're going to need a level of retrieval augmented generation, data compression, abstraction. Like you just should be using pro mode.
Right. Yeah, well, it's so funny because and this is, like, for the last week, I feel like this light bulb has continued to get brighter and brighter in the coming on in my head phase. But all of this stuff, like, okay, content and educate your buyer and answer all the questions and be the most helpful resource and density of content and frequency and like all of these things, need for creativity in in storytelling. Like, we're not changing the rules of marketing at all. Like, the same shit that has always worked works today, right? Like,
Yep. Yep.
SEO might go away in its former form, right? Google Ads might go away in their current form, but guess what? That's not marketing. Those are tactics. Those are levers that you could pull to sort of make a thing happen, maybe get a click, like, but good marketing, the principles of good marketing remain true because it's based in psychology and we're all still humans and humans are still making buying decisions. Like, it isn't changing the game on what is good marketing. It's simply offering for the first time ever companies that aren't blue chip companies, it's offering them, the mid market, the SMB market, an opportunity to actually do it. If you've been posting twice a week and publishing one blog a month and haven't touched your website in years, like, you've never really done marketing. Not you've right? You've never done digital marketing. Your story isn't there. Your how you help customers isn't there. Telling that story is, that's what's needed and AI allows it, enables that process for the first time.
Okay, you got time for one more? I got a fun one in
Yes,
you.
sorry, I'm
All right.
I'm amped up today.
No, me too. This is okay. Here's another. All right. So this one I really like. So there's this idea. It's called like P doom. So the probability of AI destroying civilization, which
Oh,
is
I
like a
haven't heard
fun.
that term, P-doom.
So it's a fun thought experiment, and I love. This is kind of the most unique take I have heard on it, or just such a succinct, unique take on it. So I shared this.
Really, really well put. I mean, as the threat becomes more concrete and real, humans do really come together and get their shit together. Well, the other thing I think people don't often talk about is probability of doom without AI. So there's all these other ways that humans can destroy themselves, and it's very possible, at least I believe so, that AI will help us become smarter, kinder to each other, more efficient. It'll help more parts of the world flourish where it would be less resource constrained, which is often the source of military conflict and tensions and so on. So we also have to load into that. What's the P doom without AI? With AI, P doom with AI, P doom without AI, because it's very possible that AI will be the thing that saves us, saves human civilization from all the other threats.
I agree with you.
Reason I loved this take was so like in our world, one thing that we hear about is like, well, if AI begins to create content on social media, won't content on social media become like boring, dull? But I think the question that people never ask is, well, how is it now?
Right.
And so I just love the idea, like very few people when they have their AI hot take never stop to ask, what is the current trajectory? What is the
Yeah,
current state of things
right.
independent of this?
Yeah, you're not comparing an AI future to a utopia. You're comparing an AI future to the normal course of human events. This is a meme that I'm going to try to show it just with my phone and my camera. Tell me if you can see it.
It's a little blurry.
So it's like villagers in like Middle Ages killing each other, like fighting, and it's like a battle, and there's bloodshed and axes and burning churches, and it's like the Middle Ages or something. The caption is not a cell phone in sight, just people living in the moment. Because people tend to romanticize the past. Like before social media, there was nothing wrong in the world, and before the internet, everybody just got along and was friends. And it's like, no, actually, that's not true. There have been mass genocides and crusades and holy wars and like you name it, for most of human history. If you were a woman, good luck surviving childbirth. Good luck not being married before you're 16 years old, like living beyond age 40. You break a leg, you're probably going to die from infection, surgeons not washing their hands. Like the list goes on of ways life before the internet was pretty shitty for most of the population, you know? But people tend to do that with the future in the opposite direction. Like instead of romanticizing it, it's like, "Oh, this is the last generation. We're all gonna die." Every generation thinks they're the last generation for one reason or another. Yeah.
Wow. Heather, I think that is a very hopeful place to leave this.
Gosh, what a ramble.
Hmm.
What a ramble. So you're optimistic, P doom, percentage low?
I am 100% confident in humans' core operating system is survival. It is, yeah, there will be consequences of AI. There's no doubt about it. Every advancement, like there's just the nature just has a beautiful balance of everything. Every new advancement has downstream consequences. We never know the downstream consequences when they're happening in real time with everything. But humans persist. I mean, we persist until we don't. And I think the adjustments will be made. We will survive. Things will be fine. And it's probably best to not bury our heads in the sand on our way there.
Yeah, I agree. I was a child of Y2K, and a conspiracy theory family. So I remember the buzz very well and preparing for nothing.
Yep. Yep. That's it. That's
So
it.
I'm just gonna keep being optimistic and doing good work and raising good kids and try to be a good person. And what else are we gonna do?
Hell yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Well, this was good, Matt. Thanks for listening. If you did, and if you didn't, what's wrong? No, I'm kidding. This has been a Tenfold AI podcast. I'm Heather. This is Matt. This podcast is sponsored by Promode.ai, the first ever end-to-end marketing platform for B2B. If you're a marketing director, fractional CMO, it's going to change your whole life, change the whole way you do your work, save you a bunch of time, save you a bunch of money, and we'd love to show it to you sometime. And we'll see you next time.